Hi there, today we're going to be restoring one of these. It's from the early 1930s and it's a knock-on wheel hub, or commonly known as a spinner. As you can see, it's in quite a state. There's some engraving on it. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to retain all of this when we do it, so we may have to get this re-engraved. It can be quite an involved job with these, so let's get it in the workshop.
The first job we've got to do is book the work in, and also while we do this we take a photograph so we've got a proper record of it. Now, because of the engraving on this, we're going to have to do a little bit more preparatory work. So here I'm just making sure that we can see the engraved design.
Let's get it in the workshop.
What I'm doing with this spinner in the workshop now is I'm just cleaning the face so that you'll be able to see the engraving where I've used the Marque pen to colour it in. This is a very fine belt, which is probably about an 800, because what I want to do is just clean it up a bit. I don't want to remove any metal. I'm scanning it now because we're going to need a faithful to scale image of the original engraving, because that's what the engraver will need if we have to go down that path. Now, the first thing we've got to do is strip this back to the bare metal and de-rust it. So we're going to wire it up on some copper wires so that we can pass an electric current through it. This goes into our stripper tank, and what we're effectively doing now is we're stripping the old plating off. So we're reversing the electrical polarity. After a while it comes out of there, the plating is off, but if you notice, the rust is still there. So a quick swill and you can see it's still rusty. So this is a tank of hydrochloric acid, which is going to take the rust off. It's the same acid that's in your stomach, but a little bit stronger. There we go, free from rust. We just need to dip that in our cleaner solution, which will prevent it from going rusty immediately. And there it is, ready for the next stage.
Yeah.
Now we're in the polishing shop, and we're going to have to polish this to a mirror finish before we can nickel and chrome it. If it all goes absolutely perfectly, we'll be able to do that on the steel and not remove the engraving and retain it all. So we will see how we get on with that. we're attending to the engraved face first. Now, this first polishing operation, we've got to remove all the corrosion marks. This is what's going to cause us a problem with the engraving, because we've got to get to the bottom of all those pits from the corrosion, but try and retain the engraving. It's a bit of a tall order, but we can often do it. As you can see, we're starting to lose some of the engraving where it says right hand and undo. The Lagonda in the middle looks like it will survive, but the right side, offside and the arrow probably won't. Because we're going to have to get those parts re-engraved, we've got to remove all of the engraving on that area. This isn't easy, because we don't want to deform it, so we're going to try and do that as evenly as we can, but just removing that part of the engraving and leaving the Lagonda. So far it looks like the Lagonda's surviving, but we do have several grades of abrasives to go through, because we've got to remove the marks that we've just put in with this abrasive belt. This is probably something like a 120 belt, or it could even be an 80. Time to polish around the ears and all the fiddly bits. You normally have to take hammer marks out and reshape these slightly to get all of the existing marks out. This one didn't appear to have very bad hammer marks. You usually have to do that with brass spinets because people don't use the correct hammer to tighten them. Here we're just gently and carefully going around all the fiddly bits. The more you can do on this belt, the faster you can polish, although we will have other tools for areas that you need to be a little bit more delicate with, or that are a bit awkward to get with the belt. What we're doing here is we're deadening the cut on that belt. The belt's been changed, we just didn't get it on camera. This will be a 320 belt, but once you hit it with that stone, it's probably a 600 or more. On we go now with the sisal mop, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this to brush the steel up to a mirror finish. It's really important that before you nickel and chrome that we polish it to a mirror finish. Any defects in the metal or any marks left from our polishing won't be covered and hidden by the chrome, it will actually highlight it. So if you want a fantastic finish, you've got to do a fantastic polishing job. It's difficult to see on the camera, but we've hit a problem that this is not polishing up to a mirror finish. The more we polish it, the more mottled the surface is becoming. So we're going to have to take a step back and we're going to have to prepare it for copper plating, because once there's a layer of copper on it, we've got a stable surface that we can get a mirror shine on. This is a soft cotton mop that has been dressed up with abrasives, and the reason for it, it's actually a little bit flexible, unlike the belt which isn't, and you can get it to flex into areas, and it's a little bit more versatile, but it's more slow. On a close inspection, you can see that we're just starting to lose a bit of that A. Now the problem we've got is that when we copper plate this, the copper plating is going to start filling up the engraving because it goes on thicker than the nickel and chrome. So we've took the decision that it's best to remove all of the engraving, and that way we're not going to get 3/4 of the way through the job and have to do it all again. We've got to work our way through the different grades so we can get it to a fine enough finish for the copper plating. So here it is, finally ready for copper plating with all of the engraving removed. The first thing that we're going to have to do is wire this up on copper wire so that we can pass a current through it. We've already soldered a tag onto the back of this spinner, we just didn't get that on camera, so we can now wire this to a copper hook and then get it ready for plating. First thing we've got to do is give this a good old clean, because plating is all about cleanliness. Any dirt that you put in the tank is going to not only contaminate the plating solutions, but it's also going to ruin the work. After the hot soap tank, it goes into the electric cleaner. We throw the switch to pass a current through it, and it removes any oxides from the surface that have formed, because if we don't remove these, it will stop the plating from bonding to the surface correctly. We're now going through our counterflow rinse system from dirtier to progressively cleaner water. That's a dip in dilute sulfuric acid, about as strong as vinegar. That removes any last traces of cleaner. Now we've got to build this up with a high build copper, but before we can do that, we're going to have to put a bit of cyanide copper on first. The reason is the high build is a highly acidic copper and it can't go directly onto steel. After a few minutes, it's got a layer of copper on from this cyanide solution, and this will protect it while it goes into the acid copper. So through the rinse system again. And this time we're into the acid copper. Let's set the power and it will be cooking away in there for a good couple of hours. When it comes out, it's coppered nice and bright. After rinsing off the solution, we'll leave that for the water to dry. Now we just need to give this a final shine before it's ready for going off for engraving. This is what's called a stick mop. It's made of cotton and it's held together with those stitches. You can see the lines around the side of it, and that gives it a bit of structure while still keeping it soft. We're using polishing compounds on this mop to give it a nice shine. So it's just a case of methodically working our way round until it's all done. Just give it a check over, and now that's ready to go for engraving. Now we need to just pack this spinner up so that it's ready to go to the engraver. There's the detailed instructions so that we know the engraving is absolutely original and correct.
Thank you.
Now that we've got it back, let's have a look. What a lovely job. We're back in the polishing shop now. We just need to give that a light polish just to get rid of any finger marks, and also you can see that he's rubbed down the front face very gently in order to remove any burrs from the engraving. a bit of polishing compound there, and then just a light polish to make sure that we've got all of his abrasive marks out. It's finally ready for nickel and chrome. We're back in the plating shop for the final time. Same as before, we're wiring up on copper wires so we can pass a current through it. Because we've had to use polishing compounds on that engraved face, it means that we're going to have to make sure that all of that is out of that engraving, or you'll get bare patches where it won't plate inside the engraving. This is a real pain, but it's got to be done. Exactly the same as it is with the copper plating, cleanliness is of the utmost importance. Time to clean it electrically to remove any oxides that could be present, and then it's through a counterflow rinse system. This is the clean water tank just there. After that, it's a quick dip into the dilute sulfuric acid, and then we'll rinse that off, and then it's into the all-important nickel tank. It's the nickel that will give it all the good looks and the weather protection underneath the chrome. After it's been in there for about an hour, out it comes. You can see how shiny it is, but it's got that slight yellow tinge because it's nickel and not chrome. And into the chrome tank, power on, and it's in here for just a few minutes. Let's rinse off the chrome solution. This tank here neutralises the chromic acid. And then a rinse in fresh water. And we can hang that for the water to dry off. The very last job is now to inspect it and make sure that it's okay for the customer. So to remove any watermarks, we're just going to use fine metal polish. wipe over with a microfiber cloth. Now, what we're noticing there is what's called chrome burn on the ends of the ears. Let me show you that a bit more closely. This area here on the end of the ears has got too much chrome on it and it turns grey. So before it's ready for the customer, we just need to mop that chrome burn off. Little bit still left there. Now it's gone. And here's the finished spinner with perfect engraving. That's what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. I'm sure the customer's going to be very happy to put that back on his Lagonda. If you enjoy our videos, please subscribe, and the best thing you could do to help us is watch another one of our videos straight after this. There's all our details if you need to get any chrome work done.